I was hoping this wouldn't start so quick. We would be at like a fresh start and the game wouldn't be a giant pile of rotting donkey balls, but are those accessible? Oh, yes. Yes, they are. And there's a jump button somewhere. How would I jump? Mode augments. What did I just do? There. Oh, good. I figured it out on my first try. Get rid of this. Okay, so they only slice up when they're glowing blue? No, apparently not. That's normal for Platinum games. Yeah, it kind of is. He's still going. Oh my god. Don't use your blade mode against it while it's down. Use normal strikes on it to regenerate your blade mode. For sure. Does blade mode not cut unless it's glowing blue and does no damage or something like that? I don't understand. I turned the power off and now it could unlock it. Even though he's this... everything he says makes me wince. Alright, how do I get them? Nope, here we go again. I'm assuming it's just more of the same. Run as fast as you can. Oh, sweet mother. I don't actually have to fight that. Do I jump out the window? Jump out the window? Jump out the... No. Am I supposed to jump it? Oh. We were supposed to jump that. Guess we did not need to kill them. He really doesn't sound German. It's terribly written. The actual gameplay is pretty awful. That's just in this stream, and we just freaking started.
Don't interfere. This is between us.
So stupid. Oh, stop doing this. Stop doing this. Trying to do like a Wild West samurai thing. God.
Okay. Let's dance.
Whoa.
Time out.
Please tell me this is an entire chapter. Whatever. It's actually easier with his sword.
I'm not actually sure why this happened, but I'll give him my best to explain this. When Sam is in this stance, he usually dodges your attacks. However, I think the crate might be preventing him from playing the dodge animation somehow. But I don't know, that's all speculation.
Man, if I was responsible for the music in this game, I'd be so mad.
Why? You even said yourself you like the music in this game. Why should they be embarrassed that they made one of the best soundtracks to grace this earth? But in all seriousness, what does the actual quality of the game have to do with the amazing soundtrack that they made? Even if they did think the game was bad, that's just a petty way of thinking about it.
Raiden, why are you running to the base? There's a motorcycle right there.
Ah, come on, he's a fucking cyborg. Let it go, he's got energy for days.
Never better not. No pain, no more start while them hunger space eat, and me never ever feel so awake, nah.
That's because your blood sugar levels are being maintained automatically. Beats the hell out of coffee.
Hiding more porn magazines. He can't even look away to see his pizza. What? Oh my god. Yeah, you have to make it extremely obvious. Oh, it's so creepy. It's one of those freaks who thinks they're not a pedophile because they're like, oh, they're anime girls. It's not the same thing.
You built that?
Yep.
No. No.
That's actually entirely fair. It's very anime and makes no sense whatsoever. Point taken.
Yep, you know, people have a countdown on purpose because there's a lot more to launching something like this than just saying ignition and turning it on like a car.
This is what the game calls an RLV, a fictional spaceship that can go up to Mach 23. That was not meant to rhyme. Suffice to say, we don't know shit about how this thing functions. The game doesn't tell us, nor does it really need to. At this point, though, there's no room for suspension of disbelief for a moment. Anything and everything is this game's fault. Now I have some gripes myself with the game that I'd like to discuss the next time they're mentioned, but not quite yet.
Can this game make me any more sick? It is tapping into every little thing. Belittling 9/11, enabling creepy pedophile dudes.
What the hell are you talking about?
Oh wow, what a shocking turn of events. He's once again misconstruing the events that just took place right in front of his face. Alright, fuck it, I'm getting into the thick of the political aspects of this game. There's no avoiding it now. Timestamps in the description. I'm gonna try and keep this short and sweet. Sundowner brings up 9/11 and refers to them as the good old days, because he's a no-good warmongering piece of shit.
Kids, you can mold, manipulate it to performing all kinds of atrocities. And there's nothing like a good atrocity to keep a war going. Demand for PMCs is about to skyrocket, like the good old days after 9/11.
Because of that demand, Desperado is going to fill that niche, hence they're going to profiteer off war. As for this game apparently siding with pedophiles, they don't go out of their way to make this guy seem cool or anything. I would argue they go out of their way to make him look grotesque, with this shot of him eating the pizza and this inner monologue, if you could even call it that. I want to make this crystal fucking clear. I loathe the people who support lolicon and pornographic material in general. With that, we agree on. With all that said and all that thought over, it's very clear to me that the game isn't siding with those freaks. That shit is poisonous. Anyway, I apologize for this very political and strangely sexual segment. I just had to address this.
Each of her tits are bigger than her skull. That woman probably needs a back brace just to walk.
You realize her tits don't have the same density and mass as her head, right? I'm telling you, this has to be an elaborate joke. And this guy likes Pokemon, an anime with some of the same anime tropes, not the big boobs, mind you, but the whole young super girl genius thing. This right here shows me that he can't really suspend disbelief for this piece of fiction, just because it interprets his Metal Gear Sacred cow in a way that he doesn't like, when he can do that for Bayonetta or hell, even the other bullshit in the Metal Gear games. And I'm not saying ignore the problems and enjoy it. I'm just saying acknowledge the people that enjoy this have reasons that are equally as valid as your own, if that makes a lick of sense.
Let's see what happens. Of course it does. What am I supposed to do to that? Oh, we're dead. Oh.
Read, nigga! Read!
Oh my god, shut the hell up. I'm so embarrassed. This is so horrible. You can't dodge these goddamn moves. Shut up. There's no way to stop. I phased right through him that time.
You mean to tell me you haven't seen shit like this in a Souls game? You see, I know you played Elden Ring. I might even get a clip that showcases exactly what I'm talking about from your playthrough of Elden Ring. This is fucking ridiculous, man.
What the hell is happening?
Let's go!
That's it. Oh, he has got instant grab moves, and I'm gonna be stun locked into them. Image. Oh, he has got instant grab moves. The sound effect was way off there. It's got scales.
This is what I was mentioning earlier, the nanomachines. This game often relies upon them to explain plot stuff, like the nanomachine emotional suppression shit. But guess what? I could put that aside, because how this technology works isn't something the game wants to bore you with. It wants to give you a cool cyborg ninja action game. Now that's not to say the plot is all dog shit, just when it comes to explaining the lore of the universe, they're more focused on giving you a good story. And that's yet another thing I'll touch upon later. It's okay if you can't suspend your disbelief for something that seems so stupid to you. It is quite stupid, in reality. I can admit that. This isn't about guy has wrong opinion about video games. This is about the misconstrued elements of your review and playthrough.
This isn't my sword.
God, this game can't get any worse. It can't get any worse. It is not possible. This is art. How bad this is. What's he doing? What is he doing? He's healing! Jesus! Oh my god. What do I do?
When Armstrong is healing like this, You gotta hit him in the back with blade mode. It even shows the blade mode symbol right by his head. Man, why do I even bother anymore?
Change the rules. Where was he and what even happened?
This little volcano thing deals damage to you if you step close enough. Pretty damn obvious.
You still don't get it.
Yeah, who cares?
I mean, Raiden.
No, who cares? Even if you were invested in this crap. Yeah, let's all look down her shirt.
Kevin was looking at the mug that Courtney had on the edge of the table. This is a part of a running gag in the game where Courtney often drops her mug. I guess you just kinda cut this out of the game to make it look even worse. Once again, this edit in particular is quite petty. I mean, the fact that you felt the need to do this in the first place. If the game was as horribly and overtly perverted as you claim it is, you wouldn't need to do this deceptive amount of editing to make it look that way. You would just show it in its raw form. But no, it isn't that perverted and horrible. Now obviously you have some of the posters on the wall, but that's about it. For the most part, this game is actually kind of tame when it comes to sexual content. There is plenty of gore. But yeah, moving on.
That's it. Oh, thank Christ. How do I justify that this game is not a 1? If I was so unfortunate to have been working on this game, I would have demanded they remove my name for the credits.
I guess he's not going to be playing the DLC then. Now by this point in the video, you've all seen how choppy his gameplay is. With that said, making sure you can actually run the game before you call it an optimize should be step numero uno. I would genuinely like to know his setup. I've never experienced any lag in all my time with the game. Just thought that was important to know. Also, any lagging you see in my gameplay is all OBS. My game didn't lag at all while I was playing, but then again, I also have a fairly high-end PC. So with all that said, I don't know that we have much else to cover.
Oh shit. What he said. What he said.
Oh hey, look, we just got a gift copy on Steam by some random YouTube fanboy.
Oh, you sweet chubber child, you. If only you knew what this would cost. Imagine sending a game to a reviewer that you've wanted to see play this game for years, and then this happens.
Good God, I'm effective, and he just keeps fighting. Ryan, I didn't do anything. Oh my God, what's up? You push a button. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. It is trash. How do you work that time? My heart can't take this. Even though you walk this game. Why did it work that time? Be action. I pushed 3 times the same button and it kept doing different things each time. Hold on. XNA is right. Would it kill you to put like, would it kill you to put like X, Y, like X on screen here or something? No, I'm watching this trash can jam. Why is that happening? Why did cops have hostages? Why in circles? This is enemy crafting at its finest. Oh hey, thanks Mr. Fanboy. It'll be good to finally fill this hole in our Metal Gear resume. Platinum Games making a hack and slash out of a stealth action franchise sounds like a great idea. I'm sure their spotty track records and conflicting styles won't hurt this game at all. Please stop tempting fate. What could possibly go wrong?
Have mercy. Please. Please.
There is no mercy.
Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance is a Platinum Games hack and slash using the Metal Gear IP. This should already be a winning premise, as both Platinum and Metal Gear are known for their high quality. But where do we begin? How about the tutorial? Immediately, we are taught how to parry with our sword by matching the direction of an enemy attack and striking at the same time.
Yeah, as I said at the very beginning of this whole project of mine, he's right about this much. The parry tutorial could be a lot better worded.
The inputs horizontal and vertical appear in the UI, and after dozens of failed parries, you might realize that you were actually given bad information. You are supposed to strike towards an enemy attack regardless of the direction to parry. This eluded me for half the freaking game.
Okay, so because Doctor said follow the direction of the enemy's attack, you thought that meant enter blade mode and swing in the opposite direction. It's a confusion I've never heard in all my interaction with the MGR community, but sure, I guess that's fair. Even still, I have a problem with this assessment. This only happens when you're in blade mode. When you aren't in blade mode, the game simply tells you how to attack, as you can see right here. And this is in the very footage that he's showing to further get his point across. You were given bad info, but not nearly as bad as he makes it out to be.
The first thing I noticed was that the controls were backwards. Once I realized it was because I was using my Switch Pro controller, I remapped the buttons on Steam. But that only opened up a new flavor of phlegm. Now the button prompts were correct, but the QTE directions were wrong. On top of that, buttons would inexplicably flip between the remapped and original layouts, making combat, object interactions, functions, and especially the QuickTime events downright impossible to predict.
Let me put this bluntly. I think this is a heaping pile of bullshit. Let me tell you a little story, dear viewer. Last Christmas, I was gifted a Steam Deck OLED by my parents. Wanted it so I could play various games on the road or on a flight. Anyway, I had to adjust my controls on various games, such as Minecraft Java that I got to work with, some third-party software, and various emulated games. In all my time doing that, not once did controls suddenly decide to switch on me. Not even any kind of default setting. I'm already wasting too much breath on this, so moving right along. Just thought it was important.
We ran into so many problems, I had to edit down the live streams into a montage of clips to reference for this review, but even that ended up being well over an hour long. But just know that anything we talk about can be verified yourself in either the montage or live stream.
Oh really? Well, I would say it verifies the exact opposite, as I've been doing this the entire time, but sure, okay.
So instead I dug out an old Xbox 360 controller to ensure the game was being played exactly as intended. But surprisingly, this didn't fix all the problems. The game was also randomly getting confused, thinking I was playing with mouse and keyboard, even though they were both well out of reach, not being touched. My mouse would occasionally appear in the center of the screen, and the whole game would force quit out without provocation.
Alright, let's dissect this. How exactly was the game confused that you were playing mouse and keyboard? Last I checked, I didn't see any mouse and keyboard button prompts in your whole playthrough, and what I looked at in your live streams. Now riddle me this. How the hell would the game alt-tab when you're nowhere near the keyboard? The reason I deduct that this is him alt-tabbing the game is that this is exactly what happens when you alt-tab, and it's going on when you're allegedly nowhere near the keyboard. Almost as if you did it on purpose to accentuate the game's problems, so you can deduct more points. Guess we'll never know though. Apparently I can't handle other people's opinions.
Now, playing any game like this would be challenging. You must choose between having either your button inputs or your QTEs backwards, on top of your game closing its own tab every hour or so.
This is also bullshit. The game simply doesn't have this problem, no matter what you run it on. I mean seriously, he treats the game like it's Ark Survival Evolved or Starfield, like it just up and crashes every so often, with seemingly no provocation.
So shelving those issues, let's talk about the actual gameplay. We all wondered what a game would be like playing as the new cyborg ninja Raiden from MGS4, right? Criminy, would you believe me if I told you that you don't even have a dodge whatsoever outside of one unique purchasable skill that isn't even clearly named a dodge in the shop?
In the description for defensive offense, it explicitly calls it a sidestep, which is a word that's very synonymous with the word dodge. Now, as I stated earlier, I do believe this should be a part of his moveset from the very beginning. However, my point still stands. This is very clearly dodge, and that could be deducted with a little bit of reading.
The dodge slice is X and A, and isn't even a consistent dodge to rely on, as many unblockable attacks seem to ignore your invincibility frame.
There are no attacks in the game that do this. I think he's referring to the grapple attacks, but even those only grab you outside of iframe. Obviously, you only have a small number of iframes with defensive offense, and you can't spam it to get infinite iframes, so I'm seeing only positives here.
Lag reminds me, when you jump there is zero lag, but if you run and jump, Raiden now has this slow wind up first, so dodging attacks with jumping isn't even consistent.
It's also not something you should do. It's not a mechanic that the game tells you is a good way of avoiding damage, like say, the parry that, and I quote, the keystone of your defense by Doctor.
In full view of the camera, all sorts of enemies might vanish, or in the case of one chase sequence, clip right through the ground, soft-locking the game. We're off to a great start.
I asked around, and this glitch doesn't actually soft-lock the game. You could just run past Sundowner and trigger Ray just fine. And as discussed earlier, this only happens if you're running the game at too low of a frame rate.
I really don't want this to sound like a list of gripes, but I'm trying to express what actually happened during the entire time that I played this game.
Well, you certainly failed at that.
You want to hear something cool? This game somehow allows you to have free control over your sword swings in what it calls blade mode, where you can freely slice through all sorts of things, turning enemies into uniquely carved diced chunks, or carving openings in fences and the like.
This is too positive, there's gotta be a catch.
Well, that is when it feels like working.
Fuck.
Sometimes you might phase right through walls, or seem to never cut open the right shaped hole to progress.
Yet again, another bald-faced lie. Blade mode never just decides not to work. Let me explain what happens in these clips. First off, we have the wall that you just walked through after slicing it. This looks jank, of course, but you can still run through it to get where you need to be. As for the clip of the door getting in the way, you can easily jump over this to pass it. And if you don't want to do that for whatever reason, you can simply turn around away from whatever you sliced and it'll go away. This happens because they wanted to save resources for that console generation. Suffice to say, some things are going to go unpolished when you rush a game's development like this. And with the time they had, Platinum did a phenomenal job in my opinion.
But now you can't just go cutting off enemy limbs immediately. You've got to weaken them first until they turn blue. What's the difference between regular damage sword swings and a blade mode sword swing with the exact same weapon? If you're using half a brain cell thinking about this game, you'll just end up giving yourself an aneurysm.
The fact you can't figure out some enemies have armor and require a higher amount of energy to slice through is not the fault of the game.
And just like Bayonetta, there are plenty of QuickTime events, as we previously mentioned, through the cinematic moments and during boss fights. But on top of the intermittent input problem, some QTEs just weren't displaying or prompting me at all. This was especially frustrating when it ended up getting me stuck in a huge 0 to death combo during the final boss fight.
What he's showing here is a scripted event, one that doesn't trap you inside of some sort of true combo and kill you immediately. I genuinely don't know what he's talking about.
Now this is a general concern, but I don't understand if the game wanted me to be stealthy or not. The game tells you over comms to avoid being seen and provides you with some tools to stay hidden, but the actual level design seems to force you into combat anyway.
As I've stated, there are some engagements where you can't do stealth. It's more of a fun option from time to time. I will say, as someone who's never played Metal Gear, I'm admittedly not the best at stealth. But again, it's never a requirement of the game. It's my best guess that Konami just said that the game needs to have stealth, and so they had them hand-fist it in. But that's just my wild guess. Even still, with that said, the stealth in this game isn't that bad at all.
Man, I wanted to enjoy this so badly. I love Metal Gear, and I enjoy most of Platinum's work. I've owned this disc for over a decade. I'm just appalled at how dysfunctional this actual released product is.
Right.
Alright, here's my issue with this. If that's so, then I think you might have loved this game. But for whatever reason, other than the bullshit about how it has too many bugs and it's so unplayable, you can't like this game. You had to go and play it on an underpowered PC, as we've already deducted earlier, then complain the game wasn't working properly. I'm actually stumped as to why he didn't actually like this game so much to the point where he would go through all this effort to misconstrue this game and call it a broken mess. I guess I'd like to know what you guys think in the comments about that. As of writing this script, I can't really make out a reasoning.
For those of you who wanted to see what Metal Gear Solid 4 would look like with an action-y sequel following Raiden, this game looks about how you'd expect. Granted, it's extremely over-the-top and bombastically tone-deaf, but hey, let's just chalk that up to the Bayonetta team having fun with the IP. But I liked Metal Gear because it was Metal Gear. Tough. And then there was the radar minimap. Look at the minimap. See the icons on the minimap? That's supposed to be the minimap, and it's all in the wrong spot. I played half the game like this, and nothing I tried to jog the programming seemed to fix the bug. Not reloading, not resetting, heck, not even a weak break. Once it randomly came back for a stage, just to glitch right back into Jank City again.
I know we already talked about this, but I wanted to point out that this simply doesn't happen as often as it claims. At least not on hardware this game is made to handle. Restarting the game isn't even something you have to do, but that is one of the ways to fix this. Sometimes the minimap just comes back at some point. Don't know what triggers it, but it does go back to normal somehow. As I've stated before, this bug sucks. I just wish some of the Metal Gear Rising modders watching this decide to find a way to fix the issue, if possible. Just find what causes it and snuff it out. I honestly have no clue. All I know is that it's a good criticism. The bug is quite annoying. You don't really need the minimap that much. The game's layout is quite linear, pretty straightforward, but either way it'd be a nice fix.
Okay, we've mentioned that this game has a big aesthetic departure from Metal Gear's grounded espionage themes, and dives straight into hokey cartoonish insanity. Listen, I'm all for Bayonetta and Wonderful 101 being crazy. Those IPs were designed for crazy. Seeing it happen to Metal Gear is like watching your grandpa run around the front yard trying to have sex with a lawnmower.
You what?
This isn't funny, it's painful watching him reduced to a laughingstock.
Okay, there's a way to do this sort of thing if you think a concept is dumb and you wish to mock it. The best example of this I can go to is Razor's recent video ranting about Batman's no-kill rule, which I of course implore you check out after this.
The Batman no-kill rule is retarded! Not harmless, folksy 90s playground insult retarded. We're talking helmet bedecked, hide the rubber cement, floaties in the shower, ooba-dee, ooba-da dim, whittery. The kind of retarded where you want your first time to be special, so you bang your girlfriend on a short bus. Yet every time you assert this fact, Wally Wikipedia essay on YouTube swings in on a bandolier, insisting the nascent gun-toting, flagrantly plagiarized from the Shadow version of Batman, you know, the one from the 40s, is effectively a narrative seedling of the Caped Crusader, and not to be construed with a complex cultural institution who cries about the concept of murder while running over criminals with a multi-ton tank and firing more Mercy missiles than Bronson at the end of Death Wish 3. Oh, I could never wield the godlike power to cease a hoodlum's lung activity. I'm far too busy barreling my Bat APC down Broadway with my non-lethal electric force field engaged, watching hobos baked on blue fentanyl get launched like a trebuchet projectile by the Bat Mercy mobile and split their skulls and spines on the non-lethal sidewalk below.
Did you notice the difference? For starters, Razorfist isn't comparing people who enjoyed Arkham Knight to all-consuming MCU fans. He's saying this is lazy writing that makes no sense. Let me tell you why in a satirical manner. He's not belittling the part of his audience that actually enjoys this stuff. He simply questions their judgment. It seems like Hamsterbomb is trying to replicate this sort of satirical demeanor, but he ultimately fails because he acts all superior to the audience that might enjoy this.
What makes this worse is how the story begins sensibly enough, grounding you in the established world post-Metal Gear Solid 4, but it rapidly spirals into over-the-top action with Raiden dashing straight up and down buildings, leaping from one launched missile to the next mid-air, and slicing through enormous obstacles as if his sword were 10,000 degrees and over 30 feet long.
Fucking beautiful.
Basically, Raiden goes off on his own mass murder killing spree in hopes of locating and stealing back a set of children's brains hooked up to some sort of mechanical magic in a plant, harvesting their organs and eventually transforming them into cyborg soldiers. So why in God's name would Raiden just abandon his own wife and child?
You'd really have to do this.
Look, I'm fed up with all of it. Companies like ours, yours, bend the laws when it suits business. Why not bend it when it can save innocent lives? I'm doing this, Boris. I have to. I can't save those kids from becoming cyborgs, but I can stop them from becoming murderers. You won't change my mind, Boris. This is my fight now.
And your wife and son? What of them?
They're in New Zealand. Safe. Rose would understand why I have to do this.
To become an indiscriminate serial killer just on the offshoot of kidnapping some brains from an entirely legal operation in another country.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
To quote Raiden directly, just because it's legal doesn't make it right. Please, for the love of God, tell me you aren't actually siding with the cartoonishly evil villains in this game.
So once again, this entire story hinges on you not taking offense to it turning Metal Gear into a bastardized anime parody of its former identity. If the answer is supposed to be, it's non-canon so it doesn't matter, then why should any of what's about to happen matter if we can't even get invested in our own character?
I decided to do a little research after hearing this, and the game is considered canon by Kojima, which means he more than accepted the story and Raiden's arc in this game. With that said, this game is at the tail end of the franchise on the timeline. This is because Platinum didn't want to have to worry about it affecting the MGS timeline, to which it would have if it was between MGS4 and MGS3 like it was going to be, if I remember correctly. And I think it would have ruined those games. If that was where it took place, because Rising introduces so much technology and different lore implications, it would lead to plot holes. But that simply isn't the case because that's not where it is on the timeline. Let me repeat, love or hate this game, and Raiden's arc throughout, it doesn't affect the timeline. There's also this little thing called headcanon, which there's nothing stopping you from valuing that more than the established canon. As for your own personal investment in this, even if this isn't canon on the timeline, that shouldn't be tied so tightly to your enjoyment of the game. Look at the first Iron Man. The MCU wasn't established until the Avengers, but the good writing caught people's attention.
Raiden's character gets absolutely butchered worse than any mook he slices up in the game. Raiden has completely forgotten his entire character development in MGS 2 and 4 as if it never even happened.
Call me naive to say this as someone who hasn't played any of the Metal Gear games and doesn't have extensive Metal Gear knowledge, but I'm gonna call his bluff on this. Dumb this down a bit, I don't think this is as cut and dry a situation like Doctor Strange in the first movie learning all this stuff about how he couldn't pull from the mirror dimension and let his pride and ego overtake him. And then in No Way Home, he does exactly that, contradicting all character development. No, I think it's more likely that he is losing his shit and regressing into old habits as they tend to die hard. From Metal Gear Rising, I learned that Raiden was a child soldier who was put into VR training known as the Sears program. He brings it up plenty as it's a major point of internal conflict for him, and all the similarities between this and the Sears program is bringing back all those fond memories. But that's just what I know and what I'm trying to derive from that. You let me know if I hit the bullseye.
Even his motivations are entirely hypocritical and only for show. Most of the time I ended up agreeing with the villain's perspective.
Pardon me? Oh my god, he actually agrees with the villains.
I mean it when I say that everything in the game is trying outrageously hard to make Raiden look like an edgy, gravelly voiced anime douchebag, and not, you know, Raiden. Now ignoring all of that, this entire script is actually painful to listen to. Corny, over-the-top nonsense that doesn't even amount to anything, cringy cliche after cliche, excessive pointless cursing.
First off, if you think the acronym DOOM counts as a curse word, then we gotta have a chat about that. Second off, this game has plenty of gore, talks about children's brains being stolen, and all that with the mature rating. And you draw the line at cursing? This is absolutely fucking laughable.
Insensitive mockery of actual real-life people and human disasters? As if making fun of MLK or freaking 9/11 wasn't sickening enough for you.
Alright, we're getting thrown right back into politics. Great. If you classify bringing these things up as mockery, your argument would hold water, but it doesn't. I already mentioned why 9/11 was brought up, so I'm just gonna discuss the MLK thing briefly. Armstrong says that he wants what MLK stood for during the civil rights movement. He directly quotes him stating,
I have a dream.
What?
That one day, every person in this nation will control their own destiny. A land of the truly free, damn it. A nation of action, not words, ruled by strength, not committee. Where the law changes to suit the individual, not the other way around. Where power and justice are back where they belong, in the hands of the people. Where every man is free to think, to act for himself.
this isn't to mock MLK, it's Armstrong trying to convince Raiden, but ultimately his vision is a lot more naive than Raiden's belief about protecting the weak in reality. This is because it isn't his true beliefs, and he knows this much. It's a Trojan horse for what he really believes to get votes and money for his real cause, something many career politicians in the real world do on all sides. No, what Armstrong admits is his true beliefs are, put simply, might makes right. He believes America needs this great reset to become stronger than it ever was, with the strongest on top and the weak purged. Think what you want about MLK and Raiden's arc in this game. You're allowed to hold those opinions and voice them as you please. That's the beauty of free speech. One thing's for sure though, it's a false narrative to say that this game is mocking the victims of 9/11 and Martin Luther King.
This story is even blatantly racist on several occasions.
Yeah, whatever.
And the final boss is every offensive stereotype for Americans all rolled into one man.
As an American, I don't have a problem with Armstrong.
I don't know if racism is supposed to be funny, but that's just how this game's plot comes off. And I don't use that word lightly. If you don't understand how Rising is racist, I've got some bad news for you.
Everything is sexist, everything is racist, everything is homophobic.
At every turn, this story will have you wincing in revulsion or laughing off how horrendous it is. If you weren't at all invested in Metal Gear, have questionable morals and no standard for quality, then Rising might still be excusable. Especially if you're 11.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
But ignoring all of that, it is still confounding, excusing what we're doing and following the character's own motivations. This Luca knockoff even shrugs off explaining himself in favor of just cutting to the action fights.
Okay, so apparently it's a problem that Jetstream Sam didn't start babbling on about his motivation and philosophy to Raiden like with Monsoon. Just power through, just power through.
He's an entirely new character who wasn't even given any explanation or reasoning whatsoever.
The Jetstream Sam DLC that comes with the PC port introduces Jetstream Sam and shows you how he lost his arm to Armstrong. If you wanted to dive deeper and see who Jetstream Sam is a bit more, then you could have played the DLC, but of course you didn't want to do that because you fucking hate the game.
This even happens to the final boss as well, who just comes up out of nowhere with a corny rant to make the kiddos who actually thought this travesty was funny laugh.
Dude, it's alright if you don't like dark humor. It doesn't make it childish. Not to mention, this wasn't even an attempt at dark humor. You ever heard of the legendary comedian called Norm Macdonald? There's loads of people who do dark humor, and it's not children. Its sole purpose isn't to make light of tragedies and mock people who died in them. It serves as a coping mechanism. Comedy is all about uplifting the spirits. Again, it's fine if you don't like this stuff, but calling it childish is just so fucking stupid to me. You just want to belittle it just because you don't like it. Dark humor is an art form. It's fucking beautiful.
But is that the sun out there peeking through the clouds? Could it be that there's finally a part of this game that's not a malignant disease? Well, yes and no. Truth be told, I can't play any of the cool vocal tracks without copyright problems, so here's a brief taste. Now imagine that instead during all of your actiony anime moments. It's high energy and super fun, unlike the rest of the game, but comes at a heavy cost. The game is now restricted from being streamed on console, and of course gets slapped with dozens of copyright claims on PC.
This is actually something I was discussing with my friend Arif not too long ago. These claims on the videos, including the soundtrack, are typically copyright abusers on YouTube that aren't associated with Platinum or Konami or whatever, as far as I know at least. I used collective consciousness in my own dumb YouTube video a while ago, and I had a claim that wasn't actually the song I used, and it later went away, probably because that video wasn't going to make any money anytime soon. Copyright on YouTube has almost always been a bit whack when it comes to music, and you have always had people who are willing to abuse it.
So the music itself is likely what's holding the game back from updates and releases post-mortem. It doesn't matter how much you like high-octane metal. That sucks.
I have genuinely no clue what the fuck any of this means. I'm telling you, if this guy's fucking retarded, I'm deleting all the videos I made on this man.
Listen, I hate reviewing games I didn't like. I genuinely loathe it. Playing this game alone stewed up so much revulsion, stress, and anxiety within me that caused this whole review to be delayed for weeks. I didn't know that I could hate something so strongly. From every perceivable angle, this game was unjustifiable sewage. I spent far too long trying to assure myself that this wasn't the absolute worst game I've ever played in my life. If we're selling you on anything, it's that this game is so horrible it's not even worth your morbid curiosity. Even if you like Platinum games, and especially if you like Metal Gear, just don't. It is art how bad this game is. But if you need some extra encouragement, there's over an hour-long montage of why you shouldn't bother, shameless plug.
Well then, I'm happy to provide at least a 2-hour-long response of why you should try it.
The positive gamer in me can't find a single justifiable excuse to give Metal Gear Rising Revengeance anything higher than a 1 out of 10. From beginning to end, this game is abhorrently sloppy, immature, insensitive, racist, and dysfunctional. Raiden has become pond scum, the rain transformed. The critical gamer in me is appalled with the disgrace to the medium that is Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, with my own 1 out of 10.
You know what? Let me rate the game the same way. If I'm going off my personal feelings about this game, it's an easy fucking 10. This was the game that introduced me to an amazing genre of character action games I hardly batted an eye at when I was younger. Among that, I think Raiden's playstyle is best suited for those new to this genre. Because you have such a wide variety of attacks, it's pretty easy to start comboing enemies into oblivion. However, with that said, the more critical gamer in me would have given this game an 8.5 out of 10. Despite the flaws with the minimap and the camera, this game is phenomenal, but I can't ignore them outright, in good faith. The lock-on also could be a smidge better, but it works well enough for me not to hold it against the game too harshly. Now before I give my conclusion and sign off, let me give you a little backstory on how I got involved with this game. I know I'm far from the first person to start getting into more Eastern media after the infestation of woke propaganda in Western media. But that's what happened, laugh at me all you want. I use the game as an escape from all the bullshit in life because that's what good entertainment is for. I also got into older 80s anime, such as Dirty Pair and Bubblegum Crisis, around this time, and I was blown away by the artistry and passion Japan had in its art as opposed to the bleak pandering to demographics that was so present in mainstream Western media. This also reignited a passion for martial arts I had when I was younger, which was formed from watching the various lightsaber fights in Star Wars over the years. But whether it was their martial arts or their media, one thing was for sure. I became intrigued by the culture. In closer regard to this video, I see such ill will in his heart when he talks about the game, and it's like you have your your own niche too, buddy, so be better to the fans that recommended you this game. They deserve more respect and honesty than what you gave them. And if you didn't like the game, come up with more constructive criticism. There are plenty of better things to criticize this game for. Another thing worthy of note, I'm my own man. I made this of my own volition. As I have stated at the very beginning of this video, I do not condone any form of harassment. If you go out of your way to harass anyone, I will not have your back. That shit is reprehensible. As for more content for this channel, I'm thinking of doing more gaming reviews myself, as I've seen the amount of creators on the platform who lack the sense of authenticity and possess an overwhelming amount of bias, such as people I used to watch, like The Act Man, and I like some, not all. I fucking hated his Ragnarok review of God of War, but Synthetic Man, I liked his Spider-Man 2 video. Fucking sue me. And of course, Hamster Bomb, and I'd like to try my best at that. With all that said and done, I hope you all enjoyed. Glad you watched to the end. Hope to see you in the comments of the next video of whatever that may be, and I hope I'll catch you later. Thanks for watching.
Oh my god, Raiden, yank it. Yeah!